on that one until after the November 15th meeting. The other ones, though, development agreement modification for the Falcon townhouses. That one went before City Council, and there was a lot of opposition at the meeting, and the applicant on their rebuttal at the end of the meeting presented a new concept that was quite a bit different than he had originally proposed. I should say less dense than he had originally proposed. And so the council remanded that back to the Planning and Zoning Commission for you to see that new concept. And then it'll go back to City Council as a recommendation for their final decision. So that, they also asked him to do a neighborhood meeting. The new code that we just adopted requires that, but he had come in under the old code, and so they just required the neighborhood meeting to be conducted. And then once that neighborhood meeting is conducted and he's shown proof of that, we will schedule that meeting before you in the future. So you'll see that one again. Don't be surprised that you've already seen it, but a little different concept. The other ones, this one was a zoning map amendment from RS 8.5 to RS 7 for, let's see, Sweetwater Glen subdivision, and that was approved. There was another one, was a vacation and a variance for a pool, swimming pool in the backyard. They just wanted to have a setback from the side and back property line of 3 feet rather than the required 5 feet. And that was approved as well. So that's all the council report I have.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we have to wait till 7 o'clock to hold the public testimony and public hearing, so just got to wait 2 more minutes and we'll be ready to go.
Anybody got a joke? Awkward silence.
Okay, I have 7 o'clock. Do we have the applicant for the Nook Group here to present? Okay, come on up. Give us your name and address for the record, and then tell us what you want to do.
Okay, Wendy Rowe, and my address is 11244 West Knightsbridge Court, Boise, 83713. We are here to get approved the ability to build a duplex on East Amity Road. So it's currently zoned for single-family residence. It looks like a duplex fits within the comp plan. We're looking to add quality housing, more than one door. So
Okay.
that's it.
All right, we'll hear from
Leave
the
the rest
city
to you.
staff.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Doug.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioners. Doug Critchfield. So the requested action item tonight is a conditional use permit for a duplex. This is located at 0 Amity Avenue, which is adjacent to 2515 Amity Avenue. This is in an RS6 zoning district. If you look at the surrounding zoning around here, it's mostly RS6 except for the east, which is a county enclaved area. And it is a medium-density residential designation on the comprehensive plan feature land use map. Their proposed density with the duplex would make this 4 dwelling units per acre, which is within the range of 2.5 to 8 dwelling units per acre. There are public utilities and services available to the site. Per the Nampa Engineering Division, access to Amity will have to be with a shared use agreement off the existing drive at 2515 Amity Avenue, and that's conditioned in the staff report. The location is in a residential land use setting. There will be 2 parking spaces that are paved per dwelling unit. They're going to be required, as well as a 12-foot wide drive to the back of walk at Amity Avenue. The regulations for a conditional use permit are essentially 3, that this project be compatible, functional, and attractive, and an enhancement or essential to the community or to the region. And the commission needs to find this evening either for or against this project in terms of these 3 findings. The correspondence that we received was from agencies were largely no comments or your standard responses. The engineering division did have some remarks in terms of right-of-way dedication and access, and those are also listed in the staff report, and there's also some code compliance issues that need to be taken care of. The staff analysis for this is that it's consistent with the comprehensive plan. It's within the narrative of the the medium density residential land use setting. And all the applications are uses that are allowed in this zoning district. The conditions of approval are stated in your staff report and any other conditions that the commission wishes to impose this evening. And with that, I will take any questions.
Any questions for city staff?
I have a silly question. We have her name spelled W-E-N-D-I, and she spelled it D-Y. Is that going to make much difference legally?
Any changes that we need to make, we'll make on the proposal that goes forward.
Okay. No more questions? Okay, let's open up public hearing. Somebody want to bring me a sign-up sheet, pretty please? I could go get it, but it'd just take me a long time. Sorry. You're not used to sitting over there. Okay, so. Well, that's good. You're for your proposal, so that's always good. Okay, then we have, oh my goodness, the pen must have been running out. We have one person that's against, I think it's Nathan. Oh, you're just trying to stir everybody up here.
Are you sure you're for it?
Okay, so is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak for this proposal?
Chairman Selman,
Yes.
we have somebody online who's raised their hand. I
Okay.
assume that's for this.
Okay,
And it's Aaron Anderson.
Aaron,
Yes,
you
can you hear me?
want to testify on this duplex?
Yes, can you hear me? I raised my hand before. My company, we are the neighboring property on 2515 Amity, and our main concern is the shared access driveway. I know there's an easement there, but our main concern, it looked like in the plans there, each duplex had garages, but we were concerned about the parking situation with the shared access, and we are planning on listing that property within a few months, and it might interfere with like the equitable interest in our sale and deter buyers with a duplex being developed next door and the raised concerns from a shared access and driveway as such. So we would vote against. We have some questions that would need to be answered there.
Okay, what are your questions? I'll write it down and we'll have Wendy address it when we get get to her side again.
The Nook Group would be open to replanning a driveway and entrance into their property. I'm depending on the city's back lines and all that, but I know there is an easement at the entrance of that driveway, but it feels that that would be an issue concern for interest in. And can
You're breaking up really bad. We can hardly hear you
you hear me?
right
me start.
now.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Sorry, I had to step outside. Yeah, our main concern would be the access of parking and entrance into the property. It seems like there is only one entrance, which would be shared between a single-family residence and two units, two units as a duplex, to where, that might raise concerns in plans. It had envisions for, the parking spaces in their garages, but it also stated off-street parking, which Amity, as we know it, does not have any off-street parking. That would be blocks away. And that might raise some other concerns for neighboring properties and the shared access, a single family, multi-bedroom property shared with two other units. That might be an issue. I was just wondering if they could revisit that plan and if they would be able to develop a driveway. It seems like without switching the houses, they could develop a driveway into the property the same way, or a U-shaped pull in, pull out from the other side, and it wouldn't interfere with any of their development plans.
Okay, we'll ask her. Weird sound. Okay. Thank you, Aaron. Okay, is there anybody present that would like to speak against this? Anybody undecided? Okay, Wendy, come on back up. So it sounds like the driveway is what your neighbors are concerned about.
Got it. And so a little backstory. I was also the listing agent. I'm a realtor with Group 1 Sotheby's. I was the listing agent for the master parcel 2515. So this easement was established long before the Nook Group was a party to purchasing this nearly quarter-acre lot. The owners, investors on 2515 bought the property with an existing easement, and those are the same terms in which we bought the vacant lot as well. I do think that it is sort of narrow. We would be willing to revisit and potentially split the cost to extend the depth of the easement to go from whatever direction that is, north to south, along maybe the whole parcel, or if there is something that's a little better fit. There is currently a wooden fence. There was a gate that was removed at the time of the sale, but there's a fence that kind of makes that even more narrow drive access. We'll be removing that on our side to help make it feel a little more open, and I think it'll help with visibility and such. But again, our parcel is 0.22 of an acre. It's a large site. We have parking spaces. There will be driveway, garage, and then the unit A, I guess, which will be the northmost unit, is going to have side of the house parking as well, kind of a gravel run area. I can't fathom any issues with parking or sharing. And our design plan is quite attractive. It's going to be a lovely modern place. We'd love to work with these guys. We've been trying to get a hold of them for several months to try to, come up to a meeting of the minds. But anyways, it'll be a nice home. I don't see any issues, but those are kind of my thoughts.
So do you have some designs to show us today?
We do, yeah.
We didn't see that in your presentation, so.
Gotcha. No, not that. The little one? No. The renderings, our inspiration photos from the file. Oh, you have the file. Oh, this one that's right here. Sweet. You guys have a copy of the plans, like the drafts, though? So with elevations and such? Yep.
No.
Doug, you don't have that?
Yeah, we do.
You do? Okay, so can I give this sort of thing to somebody?
15.
Or do you want a copy of it somehow?
Yeah, it's just Peggy.
It's, the 2D, just a draft, yeah.
Yeah, it's just a elevation rendering.
Yeah.
So they're gonna be kind of fun, modern, you know, like some wood accents, and they have a wood roof, and so kind of that modern and a little bit of a farm flair, if you will, so, but wood and metal and whatever.
So there are one-car garages.
They're a little extra deep, yeah.
Looks like the buildings are like 53 feet off the back of the existing, or off the property line.
That
right?
sounds about right, yeah. Which would give us, I mean,
Okay,
more
that
than a
gives you enough
12-foot
room to park
drive.
something.
Yeah, so we're willing to put in a little bit of extra money for that concrete to ensure proper, you know, parking. We understand one-car garage is,
Are the garages gonna face the access road, or are they gonna face Amity?
so they're gonna face the access, the easement. Yeah, so you'll come in and it'll
Easy
be
in,
pretty
easy out
natural. So we're not squaring the property up to face 2515. It'll be on a little bit of a tilt, kind of at that northwest angle. So it'll be just a nice, easy, you know, in for both of those residents.
Any other questions for Wendy?
I have a question for staff.
Okay, I saw Daniel's hand go up. Thank you, Wendy.
Okay, yep.
And I have three people that was gonna ask the question, and you're one of them, so maybe you'll answer the question in advance.
So as I look at the width of that existing driveway, the condition we've recommended is that it doesn't meet our city policy to allow a new driveway in that location. However, with the width of that driveway, we would be amenable to allowing that driveway to be widened out to, you know, a 30-feet driveway. So coming into their site, widening that out to help with the access for the two parcels there.
And that would have to be agreeable to both parties.
I assume that their ingress egress easement on 2515, it goes to the property line. At that point, then they could widen the drive approach on their side, and they would likely need to then grant an ingress egress easement to 2515 to take up that entire driveway.
And the gentleman that's on the phone that brought up the question, can we get his take on this matter?
I would recommend that if you're amenable to that, just placing that condition that they work with staff and the adjacent property owner to work out that access issue.
Works for me.
Any other questions for me?
Okay, next on your list. Okay, I thought you said you had 3 people.
Oh, no, who I was gonna ask, either Rodney or Doug or three staff members.
Okay, anybody have any
make-
final questions for staff?
No, I was gonna make a motion to close.
Okay,
Somebody's trying to do something.
so motioned and seconded.
Brett.
I was the motion.
Okay, so moved by Ron, seconded by Brett to close public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, public hearing is closed. Don't all talk.
Madam
at
Chair, I'll go ahead and make the motion. I think it's a good project for a underused lot in that area, and I'll go ahead and make the motion to approve the conditional use permit for duplex two-family attached residential dwelling in an RS6 zoning district at 0 Amity Avenue for the Nook Group LLC with all conditions of staff, and add the condition for the owner to work out the access with the neighboring property owner.
Second.
I heard Steve first. Okay, motion was done by Ron, seconded by Steve. Any discussion on this, or ready to vote? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Now I get to read you this little thing. This CUP, what is a CUP, right?
Yep.
Okay, I'm like, oh gosh. This CUP will become effective 15 calendar days from the date of this hearing unless an appeal has been filed with the Planning and Zoning Department with the appropriate fee. No action should be taken on this CUP until the appeal period has concluded. The applicant must confirm with Planning and Zoning staff that there have been no appeals. All right. Thank you.
Yep.
Just, you guys can go. Yeah.
We're not.
We got a little while still. 10 minutes or so.
Okay. The second item on the public hearing is a conditional use permit for alcohol sales establishment for the Six Stag. Do we have an applicant? Come on up.
So Derek Cooper. I live at 7129 West Goodale Trail, Eagle Idaho.
I'm having a hard time hearing you, so get into the, yeah, get the
This,
microphone.
this
up.
better?
Yes.
Derek Cooper, 7129 West Goodale Trail, Eagle, Idaho. I am reapplying for a CUP that I was approved for last year, and I just didn't place it in time. So I'm here again to get reapproved for the same thing that I did before.
So do you want to tell us what it is you're trying to do?
I own a building down on First Street,
Okay.
and I have some vacant space below Paddles Up Pokey, and I just want to put a cocktail lounge in.
Okay,
So,
all right.
right?
We'll probably call you up with questions.
Okay.
All right. And this is Rodney.
All right, Madam Chair and Commissioners, this project is called the Six Stag. And as Mr. Cooper said, that this is up above the Paddles Up Pokey, off of First Street and between Wall Street and 13th Avenue South.
It's actually below, right?
Did I say above?
Yes.
Sorry, below. It's in the basement. So downtown historic zoning, pretty clear. Surrounding, there's quite a few different businesses. I'm not going to go through all of those. That's in your staff report. Public utilities already service the area, and as the applicant stated, this was approved for a CUP back in January and just expired because nothing happened on the project. So he's back here to request the same approval as was granted.
Okay.
I showed on this, there was a little confusion as to where for my part, as to where they would access this property. And so I just wanted to, I believe that's correct. Is that right, Derek? So this door right there shown on the screen is where you would access that and go down into the basement. Conditions are your typically stated conditions that they have to meet for a CUP. Correspondence, the only one that I would point out is the owner applicant will need to apply for a building permit and comply with the adopted fire code for bar occupancy. Pretty standard comments. And then I'm gonna kind of skip over this just because it's pretty simple. They have been approved in the past. It's been found to be an appropriate location. And so an off-street parking is not required in the downtown historic zone. So pretty simple. Here are the stated conditions in your, recommended conditions in your staff report. And here is a potential motion for your consideration.
Okay.
I got a quick question for you, Rodney, just more general than anything else.
Okay?
So when CUPs are coming up for expiration, does the staff reach out to those applicants when they're coming up, or they leave it up to the applicant to do their business?
You've been at these meetings where we've had applications after applications. We just don't have the time to follow up. However, we talked about that this morning. Maybe we might be able to get our database to send out an automatic email to let them know that's coming up. So we're working on that, but right now we just don't have the time to follow every single one. Yeah.
Rodney, I have a question on it says, be able to execute their plan without a type 1 cooking hood. Is that a fire suppression hood, type 1?
Yeah,
Okay, so they
That's
don't need it
correct.
because not having food, it's mostly sandwiches and.
right,
Okay.
exactly.
Good enough. Thanks.
Okay. All right, I have a sign-up sheet, and there's nobody on it. So is there anybody present that would like to speak for the CUP. All right, come up and give us your name and address for the record.
Tall as Derek. Hi, Madam Chairman, Commissioners. My name is Aaron Randall. I'm with JGT Architecture in Nampa. We're at 1212 12th Avenue South. As the architect on the project, we're actually for this.
Imagine that.
Yeah, imagine that. It's going to be a fabulous project. It's a smaller type space because it's in the basement. We only have one exit out. It has an occupant load of less than 50. So it's not going to be a whole lot of people coming in and out. But it's going to be another fabulous project for downtown. RRC contractors have done a lot of amazing work, and I think this will be another excellent project and more fun stuff for downtown. So stand for any questions?
Well, it looks like Leonardo DiCaprio is going to be there too.
Yeah.
Pictures.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else that would like to speak for the proposal? Against? Undecided?
Motion to close public hearing.
Second. We're on it tonight.
They yelled at last meeting.
I'm going to give the motion to Brett and the second to Tom.
I didn't second it, though.
Is it Ron?
Didn't even second it.
Wasn't me.
It was Matt.
It was Matt. Gosh, you guys are,
I'm just listening to the echoes in here.
yeah. So motion by Brett, seconded by Matt.
And I'll make a motion that we approve.
Well, let me,
We gotta-
Gotta vote.
let me finish. Time change has really got us messed up, I think. All those in favor of closing public hearing?
Aye.
Any opposed? Public hearing is now closed.
Good heavens.
Okay, now, Jeff,
We go back and start this meeting over again?
no.
Anyways, I will make a motion that we approve the conditional use permit for an alcohol sales establishment, primary use, the Six Stag in the downtown historic zoning district at 1215 First Street South for Derek Cooper, representing First Street property with all conditions listed in the staff report and
Second.
conclusions of law.
So moved by Jeff, seconded by Brett. No, Ron.
Look alike.
I have to look at him to see who's talking over there. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that is approved, and I got to read this thing to you as well. This CUP will become effective 15 calendar days from the date of this hearing unless an appeal has been filed with the Planning and Zoning Department with the appropriate fee. No action should be taken on the CUP until the appeal period has concluded. The applicant must confirm with Planning and Zoning staff that there have been no appeals. Okay. All right, thank you. I only got to read that one more time, I think. Yeah, okay. All right, public hearing number 3, conditional use permit for a home occupation firearms business. We have the applicant
The applicant's online.
online. Okay, give us your name and name and address for the record and tell us what you want to do.
All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Darren Havens. I'm here with my wife, Samantha Havens. We reside at 533 West Palmer Drive, Nampa, Idaho. And I actually apologize that we're not there in person this evening. A couple days ago, my wife and I we tested positive for COVID. So unfortunately, we're home this evening.
Thank you for not coming in.
Yes. Luckily, we're in the short goes of it, and I hope it doesn't get much worse. But we're here today to request a conditional use permit for our veteran-owned online firearms business. Now, this is not just a firearms business. We also sell accessories, gear, clothing, and other outdoor gear. But we wanted to clarify this evening is that we're not going to be storing products at our home. We're not going to be warehousing them here. We will not be having customers coming to the neighborhood, so there will not be an influx in traffic or strangers coming to the neighborhood, which I know that's a concern of our neighborhood. It's also a concern of ours that we did not want to have. We have a warehouse where all our product will be shipped from. The conditional use permit is needed for us to conduct business out of our office via computer at our Nampa address. We conduct these sales through GunBroker and other like websites. That was a big concern of our neighborhood. but we just wanted to reassure them on that. Essentially, with the requirements we have for the ATF, we needed a solid address here in Nampa that we're conducting our business through, even though the firearms and gear and equipment and stuff is shipped from a warehouse. So that is what we're looking at this evening.
So you will have no walk-in, no guns of any kind shipped to your house. So it's all going to be shipped from your warehouse that's in a separate location.
That is correct.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll hear from city staff and then public hearing, and we may have more questions for you.
Perfect.
So hang on. Okay, Rodney, it's you again.
All right, I'm not sure why I stood up at the podium the last time, but I'm going to stay sitting down here. All right. So this one is a conditional use permit for a home occupation firearms business in an RS6 zone at 533 West Palmer Drive for Darren Havens. The comprehensive plan, this, as you can see on the map here, it's designated as low-density residential. The surrounding zoning, that's just a little bit closer view of the comp plan there. Surrounding, well, I'm not sure why I don't have the zone showing on here, but the zone is the RS6 zone. It's surrounded by single-family residential on all sides. History, 1996, the Wycliffe subdivision was annexed into the city and zoned to RS6. And public utilities already serve the property. You can see the property there on the screen. And this is the site plan that the applicant presented to us. So it needs to be less than 25% of the home that's used for the business. And he's just indicated that the office will be a spare bedroom that'll be used for the business.
Okay.
So I've listed in your staff report and here if we need to talk about specifics here, but the home occupation part of the code and the specific conditions, there was a lot of, the few comments that we received were concerns about, as the applicant has alluded to, concerns about this becoming a business where lots of traffic will happen and sales will be going on at the property. Our ordinance 10110 tries to minimize that as much as possible by saying that home occupations have limits. They can't have a large sign, they can't have excessive amounts of traffic, they can't have employees. There's quite a few things that they can't do because it's a residence. And so if there were concerns that came up, there is a complaint procedure that we could revoke this CUP and the home occupation permit in order to address those concerns. And then it'd have to the applicant would have to come back to the commission to prove that they are still meeting all the conditions of the code. Conditional use permit, again, you know the drill here, but there are specific conditions that have to exist or conclusions of law that have to be followed in order to grant a conditional use permit. And so if the commission votes to deny or approve the conditions, the conditional use permit, you just need to cite the any of these conditions that don't, or these conclusions of law that don't apply. Correspondence, pretty typical from the building department. Again, the concerns about the residential feel. We did have a late submittal that I didn't get in the packet. It was after we submitted the packet, but were similar to the concerns about traffic, about turning it into a business feel rather than residential. Pretty standard comments here. I think it's typical of a home occupation request. Let's put it that way. And if you want to put conditions extra conditions on them to mitigate any concerns, that's totally up to you as well. So recommended conditions of approval are on your screen and in the staff report, and here's a potential motion for your consideration.
Okay.
Questions? The letter to Brett Hoskins at the fire department is stating that this will be conducted out of his home. All this other ammunition and things will be at this warehouse. Are they aware of the warehouse containing all this ammunition and other gun paraphernalia?
I can only speculate there, but I would assume no.
That's what I would assume also.
Yeah, but that would be handled through, if they have a tenant improvement for the building that they're warehousing it out of, then we would review it at that point.
What if they don't come before us with anything and just start storing stuff in there?
Good question. We might have that happen all over the city, but there's no way for us to track that.
Wouldn't it behoove us, though, to tell Brent that, hey, this is not the correct address, that it'll be at such and such address instead?
We could. Yeah, I will pass that on to Brent.
If you would do that, I would feel a lot better.
Okay.
Thank you.
I will.
I think, Commissioner Kehoe, I think that the applicant also said that he is also moving stuff from other vendors as well. So he may not have a whole stockpile of stuff that he's selling. He may just be reselling from
Right.
other vendors.
It sounded like he was gonna store it until you send it out from someplace else.
We can
Some of it, I
Warehouse
think
for?
he said,
What's
yeah.
the warehouse for? It's gotta be something in there.
And I think your concern is valid as far as ammunition goes, but I don't know how much ammunition he will actually have.
And say, so just
You could ask him.
err on the side of safety
Yeah.
and tell the
Yeah.
fire department.
All right, that's open public hearing. There's nobody listed for. We have Angela Pounds for against.
I'm short. Hello, my name is Angela Pounds. I reside at 434 West Wycliffe. I am currently the HOA president. So I'm here as the president to uphold the rules and regulations that we have for our homeowners. And we sent a letter out to you in time, but apparently you guys don't have it. I'm not sure why. But in there, our CC&R state, Article 1, Section 8, business and commercial uses states no trade, craft, business, profession, commercial, or similar activity of any kind shall be conducted on any lot or on any structure thereon, nor shall any business be kept or stored on any lot. And when you buy a home in our residence, this is something that you're supposed to abide by. They have the rules and regulations. They sign the agreement stating that they would abide by these. We are opposed of it because of this. If this happens, it opens it up for everybody else in our neighborhood to go ahead and just open up a business. And that's not what we want. We want to keep it our nice little neighborhood. And they did sign, like I said, they signed the agreement for the CC&Rs when they bought the home. It is also a concern of the entire neighborhood that if it is granted by you, that you do put the condition on it that there shall be no ammunition or firearms stored at this address. That is a very, very large concern of the community. If anything they have can be stored at another location, like I said, if you guys do approve it, that's what we hope the condition you would put on it.
Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
What is the concern about this individual, if granted, storing ammunition or guns on the property?
We have had a neighbor had a drive-by shooting at her house, and what they're afraid of is the traffic. Granted, they may be selling it online, but there are people who say, oh, gun business right here. May not be such great people and may want to come and take over and maybe either rob or try and see what they do have on the premises. So that is a safety concern that we have for our residents.
And I think that's a valid concern, and I'm just playing a little bit devil's advocate here about how many other people in your neighborhood that you don't know of that have guns and lots of ammo that they store in their home and nobody knows about.
True,
Or
but if
they
you
may know
advertise,
about.
what our concern is, it's being advertised now. It's not, it's public. If somebody wants to look up where a gun business is, this is going to be the address of that gun business. So maybe somebody who's not familiar with how a business is run, they might think there is inventory there, and that's where they might want to go. That's what the concern is.
Okay,
Rodney?
we'll address that with the applicant.
Okay,
Well,
thank you.
let's clarify it before we get there, if you don't mind. Rodney, this is the CCNR's homeowners association. They don't dictate to the city what the city can put into their subdivisions.
That's correct. It's a private agreement between two parties.
Right.
So if the CUP is approved, it also doesn't enable them to go there without approval from the HOA.
And I think this just needs to be made clear that this is not a business out of the home. It's the same as like a sales agent for a real estate company or an insurance agent working out of their home. It's the same type of business. It's going to be a business operating out of their home for some other location. They won't be storing the ammunition there. They
Correct.
shouldn't be storing the guns there. Other than-
I understand that. I think we're more or less asking for the condition to be put on that when it is, or if approved, to not have anything stored at this address.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, then we have Deborah Plain and Randall Plain, and Deborah doesn't want to talk, but Randall does.
Good evening. I am here in my capacity as...
Name and address for the
Oh, I'm
record
sorry.
first.
My name is Randall Plain. My address is 514 West Palmer Drive.
Thank you.
I'm here in my capacity as an individual homeowner in the subdivision, about 6 houses down from the applicant's house. We've been living there for 19 years in the same neighborhood, and we are, of course, subject to the same CC&Rs as the applicant. And I and my wife, Deborah, we oppose the issuance of this CUP, primarily because our largest asset, as is the case with most people, is our home. And one of the reasons that we like our subdivision and one of the reasons that our home values are up, I believe, and it's supported by research pretty much everywhere, is that because we have an HOA. And because we have an HOA to which all of the homeowners agreed to abide by the CC&Rs when they purchase their property, it's important for us to make sure that the HOA enforces those CC&Rs. We appreciate having the prohibition against a home-operated business because I believe that home-operated businesses, depending on what type of business it is, could be detrimental to the neighborhood. And we have no say in our CC&Rs that allow us to prefer one type of business over another. We understand that the CC&Rs are a civil contract. They're not the law, and they don't override Nampa City Code or the Planning and Zoning Commission. But we believe that contracts should be honored and not disregarded just because they happen to be inconvenient for the applicant. If we as homeowners don't like our CC&Rs, we have a mechanism for changing those CC&Rs. And we actually, in our subdivision, have done that 3 times in the last 20 years. So although, as most people say, it's impossible to change them, it really isn't impossible as long as everybody works together and it's a reasonable change. We feel, Deborah and I feel, that rather than ignoring the CC&Rs, a homeowner should seek to have them changed first If they're unsuccessful, which may be the case, the homeowners have other options. In this case, possibly running their business from another location. I understand that I believe the ATF requires a physical location because it is involving firearms. I feel that that is a reasonable option if this CUP is not approved. We also, of course, worry that if this CUP is approved, it in essence is giving a green light to the homeowner to operate a business which is in direct contravention of our CC&Rs. And that, as Angela Pound said, opens the door to every other homeowner in the subdivision wanting to do the same thing. And if that comes to pass, basically as an HOA, we're faced with two choices. Either do nothing, in which case the HOA is no longer effective at all, or pursue enforcement action in a civil venue to have the applicant rectify the situation, which of course means lawyers, and lawyers mean dollars, and that's not what we have a lot of. So we would ask that the commission deny the CUP on the basis of the fact that it does not enhance our neighborhood. As a matter of fact, it detracts from it. And that is the opinion of more than just a couple of the neighborhoods. I have, with the commission's permission, I have a brief statement from one of our neighbors who was not able to attend due to work requirements.
Okay.
This is Michelle Mayovac. Her address is 509 West Palmer Drive. Her statement is that she strongly opposes any permit for home run firearms business. Keep the CC&Rs in place. They're there for a reason, and that's a reason why I chose to live in Wycliffe Estates. I moved it into the neighborhood because it possessed an HOA with requirements. And so that's the main part of her statement. So thank you for this opportunity.
Okay, thank you. All right, there's nobody else signed up. Is there anybody here that would like to speak for the proposal? Against? Undecided? All right, let's get Darren. Are you still on there?
I am still here.
Okay, so you will never have anybody come to your house.
Never. That is, we want our safety, our privacy just as much as everyone else in the neighborhood.
So you have an internet or website where people order stuff, it ships to your warehouse, and then, so there's nobody will be coming into the neighborhood.
None.
And so where is your warehouse?
Our warehouse is in Arizona. And essentially what happens is the books with the ATF or the firearm serial numbers and stuff, we log all those serial numbers, the person's information, all that stuff over the internet. And that's a logbook that is tracked. And the reason why we need this address and the conditional use permit is because basically it gives the address for the ATF to come and inspect the books on where said firearms went. Now, as for, accessories, gear, things like that, that's not an issue with that. But essentially, that is the whole thing. So it's all going to be done online. The books are stored at one location to be inspected at their desires. There's also books held at the warehouse, which they'll be able to inspect in Arizona.
Okay. And you're just using a bedroom with a computer and a desk in there, and that's pretty much what you have in your house?
That is it. We coordinate everything with our partner in Arizona.
So people find you by just doing a search on the internet?
We advertise it through like Gunbroker and other websites where you can sell legally, obviously.
Okay, and they don't have your address?
No, everything is online and shipped to an FFL dealer of their choice.
Okay.
Darren, will you have any ammo stored on site? Yes or no?
No. None other than my own personal.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions for Darren?
I have a question, Darren. What will you do if this CUP is not approved? What's your plan?
We'll have to go through other means, and look at, getting additional funds for a storefront and going about it another way. Um, Not our number one pick right now. That's what our plan is to move forward to. I know there's some concerns about that, about us growing and actually doing stuff out of the house. That is not it. We're trying to get sales up so we can establish another storefront here in Idaho, as opposed to our sister company in Arizona.
Darren, sorry, one more question. Did you have any conversation with the HOA board about your intent?
Yes, we did.
How'd that go?
Well, at first, the information that we brought to them was misconstrued and was delivered to the rest of the neighbors in a negative way. Not what we were trying to do. So we sent a letter out to everyone to help answer everyone's concerns and questions regarding this. We've had multiple neighbors come to us and ask us, and we've explained to them. And once it was explained to them that we're not going to be bringing people into the neighborhood, excess traffic, or advertising, there's going to be no signage out in front of the house, anything like that, they had no problem with it.
Thank you.
So one of the concerns the HOA had was they can find your address on the internet and come to your house. How does the ATF advertise that?
The ATF does not. And other than public record of the business from the city or something like that, if that were to go public, that would be the only means in which it is put out there as such. The veterans firearms, all mail and everything be associated with the PO box here in Nampa.
Any other questions for Darren? Okay, thank you, Darren.
Yep, thank you.
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Brett? No, Matt. Matt and Steve are the first and second. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, public hearing is closed.
Rodney? I think you could probably get that letter going to Brett.
Gonna have a long drive.
Yeah.
And just to the general public that are sitting here and listening in from someplace else maybe, we do these applications for gun sales and gun repairs and almost every month. We have done hundreds of these in the last 5 years. Never have we had a home break-in, never have we had a fire, never we had any crimes committed in any of these residences. They don't usually know what's there. You wouldn't know if you weren't here tonight because we notified you that this was happening. So I think you all can go home and sleep well tonight, that no boogeyman's gonna come and get you or burn your house down or blow the house up next door. This is a very common thing for us to do, and it is actually probably safer than most because most of these places, they do have guns coming and going on their residents all day long. But they don't have people coming to the door picking them up. They just transfer them someplace else. So this is even safer than what we normally have. So I don't think you need to worry about this. Hopefully, God doesn't strike me down dead, but
Sounds like you're ready to make a motion, Steve.
I'm trying to find it, as a matter of fact.
Well, I'll say something while he's doing.
Okay.
So, one of the reasons that, and I can understand some concern from an HOA, but what is kind of funny to me is I think if you were to go door to door as an HOA association and ask, do you operate a business or do you operate any kind of business from your home? Especially during COVID, a lot of people are working from home. I operate my business out of my house. Do I have a conditional use permit for that? No, I don't. Do I need to? I don't know, maybe I should. But my point being is that these guys are trying to do everything right by the law. And I just think it's kind of funny that just because it's brought to light, and the type of business, but I'm sure that there's probably a huge percentage of people that live in that neighborhood that do work from home. And there's probably a lot of people that own their business that the business address is their home. They don't necessarily have a storefront, but, you know, like me, I don't have people coming to my house ever for anything. So similar situation, different, but anyway.
Absolutely agree with that. And as a recovering HOA president, I've always thought that HOAs need to kind of look at those CCNRs a little bit, especially we're in a new age. We're in a new age where people are working from home and running their business from home. And that's just a side note, but yeah, I don't see any issue here. So Steve, I'll let you go ahead and.
Well, and the ATF is very big on inspections and, you know, they're pop in anytime they want and stuff. So, if they're keeping an eye on it as well, that, they're gonna nitpick everything.
Steve, I was gonna say, if you make the motion, I would suggest, if you're gonna put in there no firearms or ammunition to be stored on site, make sure that you, maybe note that for resale, because he may have guns and ammunition of his own.
Yeah.
Just say nothing for resale.
Right, good point, thank you.
And I think it's important too, as a homeowner group, to understand that if all of a sudden you start seeing cars coming and going on a very regular basis, make that phone call to the city. Say, hey, all of a sudden, in the last month, we've seen 400 cars coming and going from this guy's house. I know he's selling stuff from the house. It's that
marijuana.
easy. And then the city can send somebody out and we can revoke that CUP and so.
So far, we haven't had to do that with
None.
businesses like this.
Okay, we ready?
Okay.
Madam Chair, make the motion to approve the conditional use permit for a home occupation firearms business in a RS6 zoning district at 533 West Palmer Drive for Darren Havens, with the condition that he not have any business guns or ammunition on the property except for his own personal use. In all conditions, well, there are no conditions of staff on here. Okay,
I'll second that.
Okay, moved by Steve, second by Jeff. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, now I gotta read this thing all over again. I'm gonna have it memorized pretty soon. This CUP will become effective 15 calendar days from the date of this hearing unless an appeal has been filed with Planning and Zoning Department with the appropriate fee. No action should be taken on this CUP until the appeal period has concluded. The applicant must confirm with Planning and Zoning staff there have been no appeals. All righty.
thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item is annexation and zoning to RS6 for Salazar Point subdivision. Okay.
Pages.
How's it going?
3 pages.
I came prepared.
You're gonna give us 20 minutes to review this? Just pictures?
Just do like the feds, vote on it, so then we can figure out what's in it.
Oh. That was too close to political speaking.
All right. Good evening. My name's Becky, and my address is 2760 West Excursion Lane, Meridian, Idaho. All right. Figure out how to operate this. So, Salazar Point is a 6.95 acre single-family residential development located just north of Lake Lowell. Is that working?
We're just running on all cylinders tonight, aren't we?
There we are. There it goes. Okay, so located just north of Lake Lowell Avenue between Middleton Road and Midway Road. So the project, the following applications, the annexation, the rezone, will allow for an RS6 residential development consisting of 20 residential lots, 2 common lots, 1 shared driveway lot. The average lot size will be 8,121 square feet, with the smallest lot being 6,442 square feet. The residential gross density will be 2.88 dwelling units per acre. The net density is 5.42 dwelling units per acre, and the percentage of open space is 8.2% or 0.57 acres of open space. The parcel is located within Canyon County with the zoning designation of RUT. The pathway for annexation exists via Stella Point subdivision number 1 and 2, which is located directly west of Stella's Point subdivision. It's also noted that this development will be completed in one phase, so it won't be a multi-phase development. This parcel has a comprehensive and future plan use map designation of medium density, which our application complies with. And it complies also with all other surrounding developments, with the exception of Stella's Point. So we do comply with the comprehensive map.
I'm sorry, you said exception of Stella's Point.
Stella's Point, which is to the west.
What's that exception?
I believe Stella's is a, let me see, I think it's an RS 8.5. Yeah, so, and which does not comply with your
Okay, that's it.
comp plan.
Thank you.
So our design concepts, it will be complementary, as you can see, to the Stella Point subdivision. We have a variety of lot sizes, and then the density will also be complementary to the area. There's a mix of lower density, and then there's a mix of the RS6. So it'll fit right in with the area. As you can see, here's some more design concepts. So as you can see, these homes will not be cheap. I know that was a concern. I held a neighborhood meeting, and that was one of the concerns from the neighbors, was this is going to be like a Hubble project or, something like that. These homes will be very nice, and it will complement the surrounding development. So the landscaping, so we have a 5-foot connection pathway to a 10-foot pathway that will run all along the canal there. That pathway will serve as an extension from the Stella's Point pathway system that exists there. We will also have a bench that will sit towards the north side of the development, so people can take a rest and contemplate life or whatever. And then we're gonna have 26 trees that align the pathway with some ground cover. So it'll look nice, it'll be a nicely landscaped, shady pathway, hopefully. And last slide. So the subdivision meets the comprehensive plan and future land use map designation. It complies with the city code, and it creates a mix of housing and density for the area. It will also provide an extension of the pathway along the Deer Flat Canal, which is why this project does make sense. There is one thing that I'd like to talk with y'all. In the staff report, we would like to amend the condition 1, in the staff report. And I'm not sure if you all have that in front of you. All right, so if we can turn there. It basically says that all wells and septics have to be abandoned. The lot 8, which is the bigger lot in the sub, is currently on a sub and a well. And I had a conversation with Caleb Leclerc, and he assured me that the homeowner could remain on well and septic as long as it's in good working order. So we do plan on subbing services to that lot, but because it's in good working order, we don't really see a need to take them off the well and septic, especially well water because it's yummy. So we'd kind of like to amend that condition to say, something to the effect of when the well and septic fail, then the property has to hook up to city services or something along those lines. Yes.
Excellent. Okay, thank you.
So what are your 2 common lots on this?
Yeah, so the 2 common lots are going to be, get that. So we have the connection, the pathway, and then the technically by our code, the canal counts as a common lot.
Wait a second. The pathway along the canal is considered a common lot?
Yes.
And the connection from the cul-de-sac to the pathway is the second common lot?
No, that's another common lot, but we had to count the canal also as a common lot.
Okay.
Are you done presenting?
Yes.
Okay, we'll hear from staff, and we may have some clarification questions when we,
Oh, can I ask just one? On the
Yeah.
renderings, I didn't see any true two-story homes. Are there gonna be any true two-story homes? That looks like there's 1.5 with an attic space or something.
Yeah, I can't speak to that, but I don't know. I can't
All right.
say yes or no. Any more questions?
okay, this one is Christie's.
All right. Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. The request before you this evening is for a recommendation of approval or denial of the annexation and zoning to RS6 and the preliminary plat for the Salazar Point subdivision located at 11496 Lake Lowell Avenue. This property is eligible for annexation due to its adjacency to other annexed properties, and it is inside Nampa's impact area. City water and sewer and pressure irrigation systems have adequate capacity to serve this property. It is located 3.3 miles from the nearest fire station with an 11-minute response time. The applicable regulations for the annexation that you need to find in your decision tonight is listed in your staff report, as well as the applicable regulations for determining the zoning. There was correspondence received. We received 10 letters in time for the staff report. The others that came in later, you received either via email or are in front of you tonight. Some of the concerns are traffic, access, accidents on Lake Lowell, construction traffic, lot sizes and density, single-story homes, safety for pedestrians and children, response times for emergency services, water usage and environmental impacts. Some people were unaware of this development prior to purchasing their home. Cheaper homes on smaller lots than what's existing in Stella's Point. These need to be upscale homes. There's no open space. They will use Stella's Point's open areas. The HOA needs to be the same as Stella's Point. They want to preserve the birds in the trees. They would like to use, the developer to use a diversity of builders, and their views will be blocked. Other comments were received from the Building Department, the Parks Department, Boise Project Board of Controls, the Engineering Division, and the Fire Department. So the land uses in the area consist of RS zone city subdivisions, as was pointed out earlier. It is in the medium-density residential land use designation. The density proposed for this subdivision is a gross density of 3.28, and when you remove the streets and the open space, a net density of 4.15. For your reference, Stella's Point has a gross density of 2.6 dwelling units per acre, and the Copper River Basin on the east side has a gross density of 3.7 dwelling units per acre. Nampa High School is greater than 2.3 miles away. Lone Star Middle School is 1.3 miles away, and Roosevelt Elementary School is 1.5 miles away. None of these are within walking distance. So we did actually ask the applicant about the HOA question, and this is the response that was returned to us. As for your suggestion to annex Salazar Point subdivision into Stella's Point CCNRs and HOA, I spoke with Stella's Point subdivision developer. He indicated that he is not interested in amending the CCNRs to include Salazar Point subdivision. After looking at the open space per residential lot in Stella's Point versus Salazar Point, the request is not equitable. Stella's Point number 1 has 5.5 square feet of open space per residential lot. Salazar Point has 8.5 square feet per residential lot. Salazar Point has more open space per residential lot, and this layout meets the open space requirements set forth by the city. So the minimum lot area is required in an RS6 or 6,000 square feet. In this case, the smallest buildable lot is 6,442 square feet. So it does meet that. It is required to have an average lot size of 8,000 square feet. So after 20% of the largest and 20% of the smallest standard lots are removed, the average lot size is 8,121 square feet. However, if you were to take an overall average of all of the lots in this subdivision, it equals 10,575 square feet per lot. There are no surrounding platted lots that exceed the area proposed for these lots in this development, so there are no compatibility requirements. The master lots demonstrate the required lot width and depth. There is no landscaping according to our old code, which this was submitted under. There are no internal landscaping requirements aside from future trees that may be planted on each buildable lot. She did talk about the open space that is proposed and the pathway along the canal. Again, this is under the old code, so none is required, but they are providing 8%. So the conditions of approval are listed in your staff report. I just spoke with Daniel, the city engineer, and he doesn't have a problem removing condition number 1. It doesn't exactly say that in here, but they don't have to connect, or they don't have to abandon those systems immediately. They only have to abandon them if they choose to connect to city services. It may not be worded that way, but that's the intent of that line. If you'd like to remove it, we can. But we have no problem with them staying connected to their septic and well.
So Chrissy, on that note, the state and local regulations, that's what you just mentioned, that if they can choose, but what state and local regulations govern whether or not they have to abandon a well?
That would be an engineering
That's what I
question.
meant.
Yeah.
Daniel? Same question.
So the health district governs the septic systems, and if a septic system goes bad and there is city services available within 250 feet, they are required to connect. The well side of things, there is not a specific statute that would govern that, though in my experience, if a well fails, there is city code that would require them to connect, can be used to require to connect them.
Daniel, on the 250 feet, is that from the property line or the existing well?
That is from the, that's on the sewer requirement, not specifically on the water. And it's from the structure or the closest point of the septic system, so whichever's closer to the actual utility. And with them stubbing those utilities in, they'll be well within
right
those
there.
distances if the septic, when it does fail.
Okay, let's go to public hearing. I have a very, very long list I have. A lot. Okay. So I'm going to be pretty strict with the 3-minute rule for testifying, or else we'll be here for a long time. There's a lot of people that have said no, they don't want to speak. So I'm just going to go down the list and we'll try and make sure everybody's name and address get on the record for being against. But is there anybody here that's for besides the applicant? Okay. Okay, so the first person on here is Michelle Ferrano. Ferrario. And you don't wish to speak, but you're on the record as being opposed. Okay, then we have Allison. Yeah. And you don't want to speak either. Okay. Jim and Terry Curl. You don't want to speak. Okay. Then Suzanne Charuga. Hope I didn't butcher your last name.
No, actually, you did extremely well with it.
That's the first.
That's my goal, to not mess up names.
Okay, so my name is Suzanne Charuga, and my husband and I live in Stellas Point, 11642 West Dustin John Drive. We oppose the development called Salazar's Point. Stellas Point is an RS85 zoning, streets and access to the subdivision for residential traffic and emergency services was designed for this density. The traffic without adding Salazar Point is already very heavy. The proposed development is RS6 and is currently proposed this traffic for 20 homes, which includes residential, delivery, emergency services, and construction, which we're very concerned about the construction, would all have to use the Stellas Point entrances, specifically 2, and one has already had an accident because of the way the hill works on Lake Lowell Avenue. But anyways, those 2 entrances basically narrow down to South Grace Point Way, which then means all the traffic for Stellas Point that kind of goes below the entrances and for Salazar would have to go through this congestion point. And that is a lot of traffic on that road. That was not the part of the street design for Stellas Point and is way too much traffic. And I know for us that's completely unacceptable. Recommendations is there needs to be some kind of direct access from Lake Lowell Avenue. Now, there is a private road called Country Style Lane, I believe it's called, that could be converted to a city street and allowing access past the 3 homes from Lake Lowell into that subdivision for all kinds of traffic. This would definitely reduce traffic through all of Stellas Point and balance things a lot more. Also, changing the density of the proposed subdivision to RS 8.5, since it's essentially an extension of Stellas Point, and as such should be the same. Building guidelines should be the same as for Stellas Point for type and finish of housing, and there should be multiple builders so that, again, we have the diversity that we see in Stellas Point. Common areas need to be established in Salazar's Point, and I'm not sure the canal really counts as a great common area when you look at it. Salazar Point should join Stellas Point HOA and pay fees, as they will be using our common areas and our pathways. Also, I would recommend that speed bumps, if this goes ahead, speed bumps be put on West Dustin John Drive and on South Grace Point Way to slow down all the traffic. This is for the safety of the children, pedestrians, as well as residents entering or leaving their driveways. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, So the Salazars, you would like to speak? Just briefly, if I may. Okay. You're 4, we'll put you in there and, so give us your name and address for the record.
Yes, my name is Monica Salazar. I am the resident and property owner, 11496 Lake Lowell. Good evening to this committee and to my fellow neighbors. And I just briefly want to say that I have taken the time to read these reports as well as the letters that were submitted by my neighbors. And I would just like to express that I really do understand their concerns, as I have had to live through a lot of these inconveniences and have to tolerate them as far as construction for the last 3 years. I too bought this property thinking I would have wide open spaces and open views, which is what I had when I first purchased this property. I had intended to potentially raise livestock, and I have stopped from doing that in part, realizing that there are things that I cannot prevent or stop, which is the ongoing growth that the entire state of Idaho and this valley has experienced and continues to experience. And I think just as visually, the map will show us, my property belonging to the county is beginning to be an island. And it is not, I think, in the long-term best interest of the city or of my neighbors for my property to remain in the county. And it does not seem to be the intent of the city itself. And so this proposal is my best good faith attempt to conform to the changes that I too did not expect. As far as some of the specific concerns expressed by my neighbors, debris and the inconvenience of construction, I have lived it every day for the last 3 years with, for example, plastic, paper, water drainage, concrete being dumped into my property, the developer tearing down the dividing fence without my permission on a given day, my horses having escaped. I had horses. I no longer have my dear horses because of the drainage that has come from these adjacent lots. The properties bordering my land, my home, are single-story homes, and they are now invading on my privacy because I have become a fishbowl for them. And so I certainly understand the birds, of which a concern has been expressed, they're no longer there. They were lovely, but I think it's specifically because of the growth and all of these new dwellings on both ends of my home, on the one side nearest to Middleton, Corey Barton Homes, Cookie Cutter Homes, which is not our intent, and Stella's Point. I think it is precisely this growth which have these birds not come back. This, again, is our best good faith intent, given the few options that I have been presented with, and to remain in conformity with what the city plan intends to be, and to be a good neighbor as well. Because I do not believe that what I would be permitted to do under my rightful individual property rights would be any better. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Ma'am, question, please.
Yes.
Do you live on that lot 8, or do you live?
I live on Lot 8, and this was supposed to be my dream forever home with wide open spaces. And I intend to remain to live there and to continue to be a good neighbor to all of my neighbors.
And you will exit your house going to Lake Lowell Avenue on the private road?
Yes, and to address some of the potential proposals that I hear my neighbors think to be conceivable, those properties, those 2 properties coming off of Lake Lowell, they too are private properties, and they have their property rights, and I do not believe that I have any way to induce them or encourage them to allow us to put a city road there.
Right, 100% correct. I just want to make sure that's where you lived.
Yes, I live there. I intend to continue to live there and to continue to be a good neighbor.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. We had Suzanne, and then we have Ronald Sharuga that didn't want to speak. Then we have Vasily Balan. Did I butcher that pretty good? And you're opposed. Robert, oh boy, I think it's Highsmith. Okay, and you don't wish to speak? Belinda McBummy? Bernie, okay, your R and N are close together, sorry.
It's okay. Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm at Belinda McBurney. I live at 11914 Iowa Avenue. After listening to her, I completely can sympathize with her. I live around the construction as well for the last 3 years, but I feel like a broken record. I've been here a few times, and we're talking about the impact of the traffic, the access to the roads, the safety. There is a significant increase in traffic. Lake Lowell, Middleton, Iowa, Midway, you have a significant increase of pedestrians. My big concern is Carriage Hill West isn't even halfway finished, isn't even open. We haven't even seen the traffic impact from that. And then you have Stella's Point where they're all going, I mean, I know it's only 20 homes, but again, we're adding to this. And I haven't been able to find the information, but Monday, a week ago, early in the morning, my son was on the way to work, and here we go. The school bus was broadsided down on Lake Lowell and the corner of Middleton. We're looking at all these developments since May that are all wanting to go into this area when the infrastructure and the roads and the inlets and the outlets are so close together. We're looking at, there's going to be some serious accidents. And I think until we really see the significant impact of what's being built, how are we going to know if this can all be supported safely for the, everybody that lives there, everybody that travels? And again, the way that people drive, I've lived there 16 years. The last few years, there is a very significant amount of people running those stop signs, flying like a raceway down Midway, down Lowell, down Iowa. So with the hills, with all of this being considered, we really need to think about the safety. And we've had people already hear testimony that they've been rear-ended, and we're not even at peak traffic. So that's the main concern. If I was living in Stella Point, I have driven around there, I would be upset because I wouldn't want additional traffic. And I sure wouldn't want to deal, this might be a short-term construction, but you're going to deal with a lot. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Okay. Jeff Wakeland, or Wakelau? Everything has been covered. I don't need to say anything, but okay. You agree with what everybody else has said? Okay, we have an undecided Natalie France. Do you want to speak, or you just want to keep listening? Okay. All right. Okay, Robert Anderson doesn't wish to speak unless you change your mind.
I oppose, I don't wish to speak.
Yep. Okay. I think that's Dale Montz. Give us your name and address first, and then tell us.
My name is Dale Mons. I live at 13260 South Jeanette Way, Stella's Point. Is everyone awake? Are we ready? All right. I'm not opposed to growth, and I'm not opposed to this landowner developing her property. What I am opposed to is this proposal. I would like the committee to consider 3 points. 1, the development should mirror Stella's Point with 1/3 acre lots, ranch-style single-level homes, 2,000 square feet, room for RV garage, 3-car garages, big paved driveways. Stella's Point is a small subdivision in the scope of what's going on in the area. And it's been mentioned that we have 6 or 7 different contractors, which means we don't have 2 identical houses in the entire development. It gives us a sense of community. It's kind of, we've become a village. What I would personally like to see is 1 acre lots with million-plus-dollar homes make this a little high-end niche kind of community like Lone Star Ranch or what's the other one? Rivendell Court, both in the same area. Second point is privacy. The placement and height of the new houses should not invade the privacy of existing Stella Point homes bordering the property line. I don't want a second-story home with a bunch of windows looking down in my backyard. I have a solution for it if it happens, but we'll talk about that later. 3, access, and it's been brought up, and it's going to be brought up again and again. And I speak for all of our voting Stella Point members. We do not want residential, commercial, and construction traffic driving through our streets. If you do a little bit of math, 20 homes, 2 round trips per home per day, plus FedEx, UPS, and so on, it's going to add at least 150 to 200 traffic through the lot. I would beg the committee, please find another way to access this property. If we don't prevail on point 3 of no access, then points 1 and 2 become increasingly more important. And somehow or other, they should have to share in the HOA responsibilities of our development.
Thank you. Okay, then we have Bernice Montz, and you don't want to speak, but we have you on the record. Lydia Anderson is also on the record as no. Oh, boy. I think it's Mr. Clark. Or Miss Clark. How do you say your name? Yeah, that's why I didn't try.
Totally would have got that.
Well, we've got you as a no. And then Chandra Schreck is on the record as no. And then Mark Schreck is also. Tawny Burley. Okay. Chrissy Dilemma. Okay, and you're on the record as no. And we also have Darren Dilemma. Am I saying your last name correct? Delima. Okay. Matt Miller. Yeah, I can pronounce that one. So name and address first.
Yeah, Matt Miller, 13197 South Grace Point Way. I'm here on behalf of my wife and my 2 young children. We're against the development as it's been presented, and I certainly agree with my fellow community members in terms of what they've mentioned. I wanted to provide a bit more context because I live at the bottom of West Dustin John Way and South Grace Point Way. So I'm right there, the house that you would hit if you went straight. So I am the access point to the entire lower community, and I see my kids play outside every day. My home office faces the street. So I've had a year and 3 months of watching traffic go 35 miles an hour, people whip around South John Way. I mean, I've seen it all. My wife and I have been out there yelling at people to slow down. I've followed people and talked to the builders. It doesn't matter. People still scream down the street. So if this goes through in any capacity, I think we need to add some conditions for some stop signs. I think there should be a 3-way stop sign at Dustin John and South Grace Point Way. I wonder if there were any traffic and speed management studies done over the course of this last year while they were preparing their documentation. If so, I'd love to see that because there's no way traffic in any capacity stays at 25 or under in the community. So we need a stop sign, speed bumps. You know, I'm kind of opposed to speed limit signs because you just know you're supposed to drive 25 in a in that zone. And then I would say another condition, if this goes through, I'd with all of the dust, the dirt, even living blocks and blocks away from the lower construction, we had a ton of trash, a ton of debris. They should have to do a once a week street sweeping, and there should be some kind of, if there's trash, there should be some kind of fine.
Well, they're not going to get that, but.
Or some collection that's done at some point. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Carolyn Stewart Snow, is that? Okay. If you want to go on the record, you need to come up and give us your name and address for the record.
So my name is Carolyn Stewart Snow. I live at 11655 West Dustin John Drive in Stella Point. The entrance that they talk about, I don't know if you probably have a little map, but the two entrances that we have now to the development, they are on either side of a rise. It's really weird how they're placed. You can't see, on one side, you can't see the other. And it's just odd to me that they were both placed, within proximity of each other. And I don't know how you can do another entrance, but if you're looking at the lots next to the Salazar Point, I don't know if there's a way to connect it at that point, but just for future development. And then the lot size and the density for Stella Point, our square foot is between 8,830 square feet to 14,388 square feet. So I think she was looking at an average of 6 something. No, well, it might have been more, but anyway, that's the size of the lots that we have in Stella Point. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, Michael Malden?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Michael Malden, 13094 South Hunt Dog Way, and that's located in Stella's Point. And yes, I have a bird dog. I had a very fortunate career. I worked 32 and a half years for the California Highway Patrol, 21 years on a two-wheeled motorcycle. I retired as a sergeant. I was the 5th occupant in Stella's Point, so I've had 18 months to watch the traffic and the traffic patterns. Salazar Point subdivision proposal has the canal to the immediate east. Obviously, they do not have their own roadway system, so they'd be traveling through Stella's Point, and we've got 113 homes built to this point. Our neighborhood residents are primarily retired or families with very young children. If Salazar Point resident wishes to drive to Caldwell, they would leave their street, their roadway, which is Jeanette Court, enter Colina Vista Drive, that's Stella's Point, make a left turn on Grace Point, a left turn on Rana Drive, a right turn on Toller Way, passing 48 of our homes. That's about 42% of our subdivision. If a Salazar Point resident wishes to drive to Nampa High School, home of the mighty Bulldog football team, they would leave Jeanette Way, enter Colina Vista Drive, make a left on Jeanette Way, right on Alexandria Drive, left on Grace Point Way, left on Rana Drive, and then right on Toller Way, passing 45 of our homes. And of course, as you're very familiar with, City Ordinance 4247 states, if the speed limit is not posted, then the speed limit resorts to 20 miles an hour. We've got 90% of our construction vehicles and delivery trucks coming through in excess of 20 miles an hour. Lake Lowell Avenue is posted at 45 miles per hour, which allows a motor vehicle to travel at 66 feet per second. Stella's Point is slated for 117 homes. When you add another 20, we've got 137 with the new proposed development to our east. So obviously the homeowners and the construction vehicles are entering Lake Lowell Avenue from only 2 roadways. Finally, we have a school bus stop westbound Lake Lowell Avenue at South Hunt Dog Way. Students board at 7:45 in the morning, and they get off the bus at 3:45 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Arthur Weatherford.
My name's Art Weatherford. I live at 13204 South Jeanette Way in Stellas Point. I'm not opposed to the annexation or the development. I'm opposed to the RS6 zoning. It's been mentioned that our average lots in Stella Point is about 10,000 square feet. That's because the zoning is either RS 8.5, then it goes to RS 12, and there's nothing in between. Our average lots are 10,000 feet. I moved to Stellas Point because it's attractive as a neighborhood, and it's compatible with the zoning requirements of Carriage Hill North and Rockwell Village subdivisions. That's right from the Zoning Planning Commission when it was annexed in 2018. That was a draw for my wife and I. All the homes are high-end homes. I'm not talking 400,000 or 450 now. They're upwards to $650,000, $700,000 homes. The average lot for an RS6 is, they say it's about 6,400 at this.
That's the minimum.
The minimum. But if you look at the plan, she's including a 1.2 acre lot and the square footage of all the lots and the canal. And then if you actually look at the lots, the average lot actually becomes smaller. Ms. Salazar was undecided in the original planning approval, but she requested a fence to be built, and that was a 6-foot-high fence that all the Stella Point owners on South Jeanette Way own, and that protects her, I believe, protects her privacy. The gross density is an issue to me because at Stellas Point has already been brought up, and I'm taking this right from the notes or the minutes. Stellas Point average lot is roughly 2.5 in gross density. Salazar's Point gross density is 3.28, which is 31% more. That's significant per acre. I agree with most of everything everybody said, but I'm not against you developing your property. I'm not. I just would like it to be compatible with our zoning and the type of homes that drew everybody in the neighborhood there. It's a unique neighborhood compatible with Carriage Hill North and a property, Rockwell Village, I believe, up the north. And Salazar's Point is actually a connection by the road that city required to be built to the end of her property. Unfortunately, I don't think those maps really do justice, but I didn't submit aerial photos, and you could see in an aerial photo that I was able to obtain from one of our neighbors on Facebook, there'd be 19 homes in this little area. 19 homes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oop.
Okay. David Burley?
I can't add anything to what's already been said. Thank you.
Okay. Mike Clark? Opposed. Okay. Oh, my goodness, another name that I'm going to try not to. It's Adrian Daluk?
Adrian Daniluk.
Oh, gosh. What is the name?
Daniluk. So, Madam Chairman, Commissioners, my name is Adrian Daniluk. I live at 13176 South Jeanette Way. I'm opposing to the proposed plan, but again, I'm not against developing. Mostly for all the reasons that were said. I believe that if the entrance would have been different, we wouldn't be here. If she would have access from Lake Lowell, nobody would oppose. With that being said, like it was mentioned, Lot 8 has access from Lake Lowell. And yet it's considered, it's 1 acre lot. My question is, why not 1 acre lots to match lot number 8? Also, in addition to what everyone said, as you drive into that neighborhood from Stella's Point, there's no buffing space. Pretty much, there's our lots on both sides, and you go in and there's their lots. Well, my question is, Stella Point has all the mailboxes up front, and then that helps a lot because the mail delivery stops there. Well, where is that going to be placed? In front of somebody's yard? That's something that was not even designed, not even considered. I would have loved to see like a buffing space on both areas where kids can play without coming into our neighborhood. Also, green areas. I mean, I understand the law changed on November 1st, but because the application was put before, she's not required to have a 15%, but yet, we are asking that she, drops at least a couple of lots and create some green areas. I don't know if you're familiar with the canal easement. It's not a green area. I mean, we have it. Nobody goes walking there. It's just a paved easement along the canal with the chain link fence. That's it. And the road between those two lots to the canal, or common lot, it's not a common area. It's not a place where people are going to hang. I mean, there's lots on both sides. Also, if let's just say that she would propose 8.5, we'll like to see the HOA rules. We want to make sure they're very similar to our rules. And also rentals. I mean, Stella's Point does not allow rentals. There's homeowners that actually purchase properties and they're like, realize they cannot do an Airbnb. Well, how do we know that that's not going to be an investment where people are going to purchase lots, develop, and then rent them? So, and also I agree with the speed. I mean, Stella's Point, it's on a hill, and driving downhill, it's really dangerous. There's no bump speeds, and I've seen a lot of kids playing, and we have to put signs on the street to slow down the traffic.
Thank you. Okay. Jennifer, did you want to speak as well?
Do you want to say anything else? Can you speak for me? Is that okay?
Well, do you agree with what he said?
Yeah, but do you have anything else to say?
There must be something there.
Because I was going to give my time up to him.
Okay.
The only thing that I would like to know is, we've seen some pictures at the beginning. I mean, those pictures, there's no guarantee that those type of homes will be in a neighborhood. In fact, I would like to see the HOA rules, and I would like to see the plan. I would like to see how many builders and how many types of homes.
Thank you.
Both of you.
In a nutshell, it just has to mirror Stella.
You have to go up to the microphone if you're going to talk. We need you on the record if you're going to do that. Okay. 13134 South Jeanette Way. I cannot read your name.
Sabrina Haas.
Ah, Sabrina. And you've indicated you want to speak?
Everybody has said everything.
Okay. And Nikki? Okay, we gotcha. And then 131163 South Jeanette. You wrote in cursive and I can't read it. Okay. Elizabeth Esquivel. Okay.
It's supposed to be the other way around, though. He's with you.
David Dearborn. Okay. All right, so that's everybody that was on this list. Is there anybody else present that would like to speak for, against, or undecided? So, yeah, you ready to come up and talk? Okay, name and address for the record and.
I'm Natalie France, and my address is 11500 Lake Lowell Avenue. Is this too loud? Okay. Lake Lowell Avenue on, up there. So I'm Monica's neighbor. Hey, Monica. Anyway, I just was going to speak to the road in front of our house. It's a private one-lane road. It's like small, so it's like that wouldn't be possible. So it's privately owned by the three of us, so. That's all.
Okay. Okay. Okay, that's everybody on the list. So anybody want to speak for, against, or undecided? Okay, let's get you back up here to answer some questions.
Tag team.
Yep.
Good evening. My name is Wendy Shreve. I'm a planner at JEB Engineers. I work with Becky, and I worked on Stella's Point back in the day. So it's always kind of neat. It's neat to see projects when they're constructed and to see the neighbors out. Not necessarily opposing, but I understand. Your home is your biggest investment that you have. I just wanted to point out a couple things here. This is an infill project. It's a small site. We have a lot of site constraints. The existing easement that the existing home is using down to Lake Lowell is restricted through the deeds, and we cannot turn it into a public street. Luckily, we are adjacent to Stella's Point and a public street, and I think this is a situation where this is what public roads are for. We're proposing 19 homes in a small infill project adjacent to that, connecting to that public road. One thing I do think it's important that we look at, and I think we should be conditioned prior to city councils, that we sit down with city engineering and look at traffic calming. I'm not going to say we're not having any impact with the 19 homes. I think it's minimal, but I think it's definitely worth sitting down with Daniel and Caleb and having a conversation about, would it make sense to do additional signage, to do traffic calming, and to have a plan for that and to present that plan to council. I think in this situation, that definitely makes sense. We did approach the developer of Stella's Point about joining the HOA. We thought typically you join an HOA when you're hooking onto a PI, a irrigation system, or you have private roads you need to share maintenance of. He did not want us to join. I believe he still has control of that HOA, but we did request it. And he, I think, still controls the HOA and turned us down. So we did make the offer, and we thought it potentially would be feasible.
And I attached a letter to y'all's packets with that letter.
From Mr. Newell. But we definitely do want to be conditioned for the traffic calming, and we're here this evening to do a project we think is good for the city of Nampa. And if you have concerns, or please let us know. We want to have a discussion and want to work through any of those issues with you tonight. So let us know. Becky's going to wrap up.
Can I ask a question before you swap there? Because you mentioned the HOAs. So it seems there's been quite a few concerns about they should join the HOA. Do the residents of Stella Point know that letter was, that was requested and then denied?
And I know Becky submitted a copy of that letter from Don Newell, who is still in control of the HOA.
Yeah, no, that conversation happened when Christy and I were having a conversation back and forth with she was letting me know what the homeowners were thinking, so.
It has been submitted as a part of our packet.
Yeah, and so that was after the neighborhood meeting and all that.
Oh, okay. So they didn't necessarily have a chance to see that letter of denial. So a lot of them are hearing it for the first time tonight, right?
That is correct.
Between now and the city council, they have a chance to talk to the HOA president.
Yes.
Yes.
Mailboxes, where are the mailboxes going to be? There was some concern about that.
Chairman, Commissioners, I believe we would do a cluster mailbox.
Yeah, there would be a cluster mailbox. I don't think it's on this plan.
I think it would make most sense to have it at the end of the cul-de-sac.
Okay.
And for these to most likely to be adjacent to, we haven't talked with the Salazars, but I think that's where it would make sense to have it at the end of the cul-de-sac.
Is there any chance you guys would do more common, like take one lot and make a little play area for kids, or?
I agree with that 100%.
That's what I was gonna ask too.
Because we, you know, the code did change, and I know you guys are in before it, but that's been one of the biggest problems with some of these subdivisions, and the kids don't have anywhere to go play. You know, the house takes up most of the lot, and then there's, you know, they will need to get out and run around.
Chairman, Commissioners,
Take the smallest lot.
we have the sellers out here this evening, and at the bottom line, it is a business decision, whether they can afford to do that. But let's talk with Ms.
I'm sorry, just a comment. I have, visited Stellas Point, and I haven't seen a playground in that entire subdivision unless it's going to be built at some point down the future. So I feel to a large degree they are requesting things, and having you presume that these things actually exist in Stellas Point itself, which is a much larger complex of homes where children do need this open area and space. So that is not even there at this point unless I've missed it.
You keep raising your hand in the back. You are done giving, you've testified, and we can't address you. Sorry.
So Chairman, Commissioners, if that's a deal breaker, please be very clear about it. And Elizabeth, Ms. Salzer, but we definitely want to make sure we have a recommendation of approval with you this evening.
Sure.
So if that's a point of contention, let us know.
I just think it's top of council's list right now, and it might be worth
It would
considering. I don't know if.
go a long way
I
with
don't know
city
if I
council.
would really condition it because of the lot size and the type of product you're proposing to build, so the thought.
Any other questions?
Can I ask Rodney a question?
Yeah, ask Rodney.
Don't go away, guys. Rodney, how far along is the other subdivision? Is there room for, do you know of a lot that was designed to be a play lot, or?
I'm looking that up right now.
Great minds like.
This is like, I think there's 8 lots between your thing and my house. So, you know, right behind me, yeah, I'm just like, oh. I didn't get a letter. I didn't.
No,
Nope, we can't take any more from the gallery. I'm sorry.
That's why the staff has paid these big bucks to know these answers.
Anybody have another question for him while Rodney looks?
somewhere in my notes.
You weren't required to do a traffic study because it was only 19 homes? Okay. Any plans for speed bumps, or is that something you guys,
Chairman, Commissioners, that was what I was talking about prior to council.
Right.
Go ahead and condition us, we on our own are gonna sit down with city engineering and see what
Put a
makes
plan.
sense.
Okay.
But
both
having them in your subdivision would be almost useless. They have to be in the other subdivision.
Directors, we would need to cooperate with
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
And do you guys have an HOA yet?
Are you gonna have one?
There will be one, it has not been set up yet.
Okay.
And the homes that we had shown are, I think you can put those in and require us to be in substantial compliance.
Right.
With the type of home where we've got a variety of, roof pitches and building materials, and it will be a higher end home. And I think, one of the things that, with development costs having gone up, I think you can see a home on a much smaller lot than what you saw several years ago, and it's a much more expensive home. I've got a project in Star where I have 3,500 square foot lots and $700,000 homes. So with construction costs, you really, and demand, you're seeing a big increase in prices, even with lots being a little bit small.
Is it going to be one builder for this whole subdivision?
No, our intent is to have a variety of builders.
Any luck, Rodney?
I've got both the first two final plats, and neither of them have open space beyond just stretches along the canal. There's no clear park. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I'm sorry, given that response, I would think that if a
Yeah, yeah.
subdivision of over 100 homes is not required to have such a
Yeah.
playground.
Well, we changed the code, it got changed in November 1st, so things that were okay before are, like how you are.
And let me give you
Won't
an
be the same.
example. This is kind of what you were just saying a minute ago. City council is making a big push for these kind of lots and things like that. So if we approve this, city council could still turn it down.
Correct.
So you might want to think about what you can do to beat them to the punch
Before you go there.
before you go there.
Or at least have an option in
Yeah.
mind, so if it does become an issue, you can say, well, we can do this.
Any other questions for the applicant, or? Everybody still awake?
But no, I have some stuff to discuss, but it's after we close public hearing.
Okay. All right, I would entertain a motion.
So moved. Second.
Who moved it, Matt? Moved by Matt, seconded by Tom to close public hearing. And all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, public hearing is closed.
So, Madam Chair, I went through these letters, and I actually drove out there and drove through Stella's Point yesterday to look at it, because a number of them were mentioning shouldn't be over single-family or single-story homes. They should be on bigger lots. When you look at the lots that are backing up to Stella's Point, there's 7 lots and there's 7 lots. So they're pretty similar in size. Width-wise, they may not be as deep in overall square footage. The plat map for Stella's Point clearly shows that Colina Vista was stubbed out to eventually access that piece of ground. So it's not a cul-de-sac. It was built to extend out there to take care of that. And when you drive up and down, Janet Way, there was one house on that whole street that would back up to this Salazar Point that didn't have an RV bay. So your height and asking for them to be 2 stories, only 1 story, you've got 2-story tall garages. So the height difference, to me, I don't see putting the stipulation on it that they should be limited to 1-story homes. Your 2-story tall RV bays would match that. And it does drop down, and granted, a 2-story house is gonna block your view, but you drive through any subdivision in this town, and there's single-story homes next to 2-story, and they're back to back. So to tell a developer they're gonna be stuck to building a single-story home because it's gonna block views and people are gonna look into your backyard, sorry, but that's the way that development happens around here, and I don't think it's our job to restrict something like that. And so I don't see an issue with it. I think the street was designed to continue out there. The lots that match up to Stella's Point are 7 to 7. So I think it's a great infill project.
Jeff?
Yeah, I've made quite a few observations and some notes here, but, and I'm glad you brought that up. Rodney, can you put this up on the screen, this one, if you can get to it real quick? Or Christie, whoever's got the power.
Call Christie.
Yeah, the aerial, do you have that? Yeah, the aerial. And this was just an observation I was looking at, because someone had mentioned 19 homes being built on this infill project. And so I looked at just looking at this aerial map, and roughly the same area taken into the east, or to the west of that, of those lots, and there's about 19, 20 lots compared to the same size over on the project. Just looking at this aerial, I didn't go out there and measure everything, but it looks kind of about the same. And then I was looking at the size of the lots and looking down on South Hunt Dog Way, those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lots on the east of Hunt Dog Way, they look pretty small. So I know what the average size lot is in Stella Point, but that doesn't mean they're all that same size. And 19 homes going to this infill project, averaging, I'm looking at this map here, there's lots 9,000 feet, 8,000 feet, 8,000 feet, and I'm sure there's probably a few smaller lots in Stella's Point. Of course, the average is 8.5. So we get that. But there are some smaller lots, as would be in Stella's Point. Another observation I was looking at was, people talk about, well, that the comments were, the house was being built in this project should be similar to construction of those homes in Stella Point. We had 6 or 7 builders. I heard comments of homes being built in Stella Point. It was, the owner had brought up, for this project, there's going to be 3 builders. So the comment that I heard was 6 or 7 builders in Stella Point, but the concerns are that you want these homes to look the same as the homes in Stella Point. Does that make sense? You want them to be similar to those, yet you want them to be different. So that was yeah, I know the quality, I understand that. I'm just kind of looking at some observations that I did. The traffic is always an issue. But I was thinking that, and I think it was, I can't remember who mentioned this, we don't build roads to the traffic. We expect the traffic to conform to the roads that we build. So people who are speeding through neighborhoods, who are running stop signs, that's not the capacity of the road's fault. That's the driver's fault for not obeying the traffic laws. And so I hope that makes sense, because that kind of was an aha moment for me tonight when I was listening to the traffic. We don't build roads in this city to the drivers. We expect the drivers to conform to the roads that we have and the laws associated with those roads. Gentlemen, I can't remember your name, but I remember your former occupation, CHP. And you had mentioned somebody who lives in this project or who would live in this project, how many homes they have to pass by to get to Nampa High School. Fair point. But then I was looking at the lot that's right there at that entrance on that stub road. How many homes would that individual in Stella Point have to drive by to get to Nampa High School? Probably one, probably one less than the person who lives in this project. So I got your point, but it was an observation that I had noticed. They have to drive by just as many homes, probably. The green space, that was an observation I was making. I don't think it's fair to condition this project on providing green space when Stella Point, much larger, doesn't have that same condition. Hold on. I'm just making listen, I'm just making some observations. We are done with public testimony. It's closed, and we're not going to open that up again unless we vote to. But, 19 homes in a little area. Concerns about construction, that's always a concern. That's nothing we're going to get by. Gentleman mentioned that he was the 5th resident in the neighborhood, and I'm sure he had to deal with all the construction traffic, still does have to deal with construction traffic, just as you would continue to deal with construction traffic in this project too. I'm sorry, am I interrupting something? Can you, okay. And I think that is all the observations that I had made, some concerns that I had. So I appreciate the testimony and the comments though, because it really made me think about this project.
And the zoning, this is between 2 different zones, RS 8.5 and RS 6. Where I live in Copper River Basin, I mean, it's right out my back door, and I think that you have to have some areas where you have a little bit of a mixture to make it flow. I don't think $1 million home would fit in that area. It wouldn't be consistent with what's next door.
I do wish that there was another way we could connect this project to Lake Lowell. I mean, that is one thing that I wish we could do, but it's just not feasible. It's just not a possibility at this point.
Let me say something, Jeff. You need to understand that we as volunteers have sat here for the last hour and listened very intently to everybody that wanted to come up here and talk. Public testimony is over. This is our chance to deliberate. And so we would ask that you respect us just like we've respected you for the last hour, okay? That's all we're doing. We're deliberating now, and then we'll make our decision.
Thanks, Matt.
And if I may follow up a little bit with Commissioner Kirkman, 2 weeks ago, I was on my way home, and I live in this very same neighborhood also, and there was a very serious accident on the corner of Middleton and Iowa. And when the police, I was directing traffic because I'm trained in doing that. And when the officer got there, I stopped and talked to the person that was involved in the accident. And the accident was caused by a lady driving through the stop sign, didn't even slow down, according to two witnesses, the driver of the truck that hit her and another witness. The problem is the drivers, not the roads. We need to slow down. We need to be more aware of what's around us, especially these stop signs. This happens all the time. Go down to the police station and ask them for a crime map of the area where you're talking about and see what the crimes are. Most of it is traffic-related crimes. Not break-ins, it's not rapes, it's not murders, it's traffic. Because people are not paying attention and they're not obeying the traffic laws. Roads are not the best in the world, but they're not as bad as people make them out to be. It's just we have to be patient and understanding. The laws are there for people to comply with, not to disobey. That's all I got.
Hey, Daniel, I had one question for you, and I forgot to bring it up when I was talking. And I did notice coming in and out of that subdivision when I was over there yesterday. Is there any way, it's probably the highway department that you'll have to talk to, but is there anything that can be done to drop that speed limit? And granted, it's gonna be the drivers, we can't control the drivers, but drop it from 45 to 35, because that hill is,
We are currently looking at a speed study for that area. So we are currently looking at that based on some comments at a previous public hearing on a different item.
is at 45 coming up over that hill. Anybody's even pushing that, you don't have much time. So it'd be nice if we could try to drop that across there.
We are currently working on a speed study for that area.
Thanks.
What's the timeline on that, Daniel? Do you know?
I have not heard back from the street department about when they will be able to get out there and collect the data for us. Once we get the data, it's 2 to 3 weeks for us to process and look at that recommendation to see what the appropriate speed limit is.
Is that just a engineering staff decision, or is it?
Typically, speed limit changes are business items at the city council, but not a public hearing or public testimony taken on them.
So 3 weeks-ish to get the data, then gets on the agenda, then goes to, okay. Thanks.
Thank you, Daniel. Okay. You got something to say, Rodney?
Madam Chair, I just wanted to confirm once again that I can find no park space in Stella's Point. There's open space in certain locations, but they're generally strips of landscaping.
Okay. What do you think we should do?
Madam Chair, I think, I'm going to be unpopular here, but the plan presented before us, looking at lot square footage and whatnot, seems to conform and be a good complement to the area, in my opinion. There's no more deliberation. I'll go ahead and make the motion.
Let me just mention one thing, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Not too long ago, last month or two, we had another application on Lake Lowell, and we turned that down because everybody was opposed to it, and it was fourplexes. And everybody said, we want homes, we want homes. We don't want fourplexes, we want homes. Here we have homes, and they don't want the homes. We gave you your chance, please, respect what he said.
Got to be quiet. Yeah, I hear you.
Okay.
I think I'll go ahead and recommend the approval of the annexation and zoning to RS6 at 11496 Lake Lowell Avenue for Monarchy Salazar with all conditions listed in the staff report. I have a question for staff. Does the amending condition 1, hold on, never mind. Does that go with the plat, or my screen went blank on the? That would go with the annexation. Annexation, okay, so go ahead and amend condition 1 to allow the existing well and septic to remain on Lot 8. And that the developer, well, the traffic condition would go with the plat, correct? Okay. So that would be my motion for annexation and zoning.
Second.
Okay, motion by Ron, second by Tom. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, this still has to go before city council. So if you want to meet with the developer or reach out, they can answer more questions probably for you, but you get a chance to testify again at city council and it'll come up in like, what, 3 weeks or?
I wish.
Oh, okay.
We're scheduled out until, I think we're in January right now. Is that right, Bree?
So you
I think
have-
we're in January into city council, so.
Okay, so you'll have some time to, you
I
know,
need a motion on the plat.
I thought that was included.
Oh, I was gonna separate them, but did we?
thank you for coming.
It's all included here, but if you want to make a separate motion, because you did not mention the plat.
Yeah, probably have to do it now.
Okay.
Amend your motion.
So we'll need,
Do you want an amended
need a
motion, or do
new
you want a separate
motion.
motion? Okay, I'll go ahead and make the motion that we recommend approval of the subdivision preliminary plat for Salazar Point subdivision at 11496 Lake Lowell Avenue for Monica Salazar with all conditions listed in the staff report and the additional condition that the applicant look into some traffic calming measures in the neighboring subdivision.
And item 1 is taken off.
That was part of
That was part of the
Okay.
annexation zoning.
I'll second.
Okay.
So does Tom, do you still second?
No, that's a new motion.
Okay, so
Yeah.
this is
Matt seconded.
Ron and
Might have
Matt.
been Adam.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Sorry, I'll read the staff. See, I told you I was bad at motions.
Bad night.
I'm making them though.
Okay, we're going to take a 5-minute break.
I'm gonna wait for that lobby to clear out.
Yeah, okay, get the people to-
Thank you, Matt.
both the sign-up sheets.
Oh, I got both of them. Wow, that's gonna be hard to get through. Okay. Applicant come up for the IP to RS6. You probably know.
Good evening.
Know what you're supposed to do after watching 1,000 people.
That was bad behavior. I won't do any of that.
Awesome.
Real quick, this property that I purchased to renovate it and resell it. Industrial park was, I was not aware of as far as the zoning would restrict any retail borrower from getting a loan. So apparently after renovating this house and putting it up for sale, the buyer, who has been very patient, my wife is my agent, and the buyer's agent, they submitted to their lender for a loan. Anyway, they looked at the zoning, and lenders are very sticklers about certain types of commercial zoning and lending on residential property. I bought this home from a lady that lived in it as her primary residence, and she had lots of cats.
Oh.
I don't know if you saw it on the news. Several. Anyway, I've beautified it to a degree that any of y'all would love to live there. And I think that the person that is intending to move into it would love to move into it rather quickly because they've already been waiting 2 months. So we have a darn near homeless family, and we are having to go through this process of rezoning for one single-family home across from RS6.
What is the age of the house?
Early 1900s. It was a residence long before it was ever zoned commercial.
No restrictions on it being torn down or anything?
Actually, in your industrial park zoning, I believe it does allow for residents, but it's the rebuild letter that the lenders look for is the more than 50%. It has to be 100.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Anything else?
Maybe after we hear the staff.
Okay.
We'll see how public testimony is gonna happen.
Yeah. Can I be my own bad guy?
All right, Christy.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. The action requested from you this evening is a recommendation of approval or denial of the zoning map amendment from IP to RS6 for the property located at 16127 Franklin Boulevard. In August of 2003, this property was annexed and zoned to IP as one parcel. At some point, the property was split. An industrial building was built on the back parcel, leaving the residence intact on the front. Then to the north, south, and west is all IP zoning, but to the east is RS6 across Franklin Boulevard. Water and sewer services are already existing at the property. The condition from engineering was that any services not utilized at the time of property development or redevelopment shall be abandoned to the main. Just typical language there. These are the applicable regulations for your determination of a rezone listed in your staff report. Correspondence from the building department was their standard comment, they need to meet the Title IV requirements for building permits, and from the engineering division, their standard comments for development. So in this area, there is a mixture of industrial and residential uses. So to the south, there's a multifamily apartment building, apartment development project going in on the corner. Between that, there's a residential home in the BC zone, and there is a strip industrial center just immediately to the south. And then across Franklin is a large, I believe it's Brant's Landing subdivision. In this area across Franklin, it is medium density residential. This property is in the industrial land use designation in the future land use map. As you know, we do allow a stretch for one parcel deep of any designation. And so since it touches the medium density residential, it does qualify for that RS6 zoning. So should the commission choose to approve these requests, staff recommends the approval with conditions as listed in your staff report and here on the screen. And this is your potential motion.
Christie? I'm trying to put my mind around this thing. Is that it used to be the office of the Holton Homes? Yes. Okay. They build damn good houses. I live in one. That's all I had.
Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Okay. Is there anybody here that would like to speak on this, for, against, or undecided? I'm for it. I would entertain a motion to close public.
So move.
Second.
Okay, we're going to call it Ron and Jeff.
Sorry.
Twice I've lost out tonight.
All those in favor of closing public hearing?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, public hearing's closed.
Madam Chair, I'll make a recommendation to the City Council that we approve the zoning map amendment from IP Industrial Park to RS6, Single Family Residential, zoning district 16127 North Franklin for Albert Bradley, with all conditions as listed in the staff report.
Second. To get something in there.
So, moved by Jeff, seconded by Steve. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Thanks for waiting.
Hey, Rodney,
Hope you enjoyed the show.
considering the
Is it okay if I ask one question?
application, is there a way to get them like on council's agenda sooner rather than later?
Yeah,
I know there's a process, but I mean,
maybe
this is
there's an
kind of.
expedited.
Rodney knows the mayor.
I'll see what I can do. We have been putting 5 public hearings on the city council agenda because, but the mayor has wanted only 4. So I put 5 on because we just have so many applications right
How about
now.
the slam dunk? I mean, there's no problem.
Yeah, it is a pretty simple
You
one.
could tell her about all the public comment we already.
I'll see what I can do.
Everything went in the.
Just a thought, I mean, I don't want to like mess up the, I'm on the
So,
record.
so my understanding prior to this meeting, there was an opportunity for somebody at Planning and Zoning to go ahead and do an expedited approval. They did not do that. Is there a reason that that wouldn't have happened?
Don't know.
Or can that still happen?
Ask them.
We can't go through the public hearing process with an expedited
Right, I understand.
timeframe.
I mean, prior to this, was there an opportunity for us to go ahead and get this approved? Is there a better way for me in the future if this happens again?
This is it.
This is the
Yeah,
process.
this is the
yeah.
best process.
If this happens again, what are you planning?
Reason.
Okay. Well, now you know what to look for, though, right?
be on the watch out for this now.
Unless you're rooting for her, you can leave now.
We gotta go get her some wine, man.
Oh.
So Vanessa, are you here to present yours? Come on up.
I'm Vanessa Tona at 1414 Southside Boulevard, Nampa, and I'm just here to ask for annexation to connect to sewer,
Not water, just sewer.
just sewer.
So your septic
on
tank
a-
is failing.
Our ground is kind of squishy. We have a large garden in front, and so I can't tell if it's really from that, but we'd like to prevent that from happening.
Okay.
You could have your water tested for about $10, I think. They could tell you what's in the water, and you would know if it's where it's coming from.
Yeah, but or also we've gotten our septic tank
Okay.
cleaned and.
Sure.
Yeah, so we just.
Do it
wanna
anyway,
take
it's
care of
better for you.
Okay, Doug,
Madam Chair, I'm hiding over here in the
You
corner.
moved.
I'm hiding from Steve here. Thanks for the cookie.
And so this is a requested annexation zoning to RS 22. The location of the property is 1414 Southside Boulevard. The property is adjacent to city property, and the annexation into an RS 22 would be compatible at the time being with the properties to the north and south. There is RS zoning to the east and RML to the west. If this property decides to subdivide, we would recommend to the applicant that they zone it to a closer zoning to the RS6 or RS7, somewhere in that range. The utilities are available to the property, and the existing access is off of Lone Star Road. It's classified as a minor, South Side, and it's classified as a minor arterial.
Yeah.
Yeah, but, wrong place. So the regulations are stated in your staff report. These are the standard regulations for annexation and zoning. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer any of those regarding that. And also the uses in that zone are in your staff report. We did receive correspondence on the project. Mostly there were no objections or no concerns about the project. Engineering Division is requiring a 40-foot dedication of right-of-way prior to the annexation being complete. The conditions of approval are stated in your staff report, and I'd be glad to take any questions.
any questions for staff? Okay, we'll open public hearing. Is there anybody here who would like to speak for, against, or undecided on this?
Hearing none.
You have a question? Come on up to the microphone and.
The 40-foot, what was
Easement
that?
right away.
Yeah, the right of way? Does that like come off our front?
From the center line of the road.
Oh, okay. I'm kind of familiar with it, but not really familiar, so then they would measure just that out if we annexed in and then we
So-
don't use that piece of land anymore, or how does that work?
Yeah, so Madam Chair, so the property, the right-of-way dedication would have to be a separate process through the engineering department, and that would be dedicated and to the city, and then the rest of the property then remains your property that's annexed into the city.
Yeah, so see how that red line goes to the middle of the street? So you'll basically lose the property that's from that center line of the road, the yellow, to the gray, your property line. And so you'd have a new
Street
property
anyway.
line on the back of the street, and you're dedicating what's in the road now.
Well, I mean, it's the road.
There you go.
Yeah, yeah. It's the road.
It's not like they're coming to your, taking 40 feet of
Yeah.
your yard.
That's what,
Okay.
that's what it sounds like though, doesn't it?
Right.
Well, yeah, I've seen where like my sister got it done and she needed to like allocate room for a sidewalk or something like that, so I was just kind of curious on it. Thank you.
Dig up some of the road and move it over for the sidewalk.
We'll do that.
Okay.
Make a motion to close the public hearing?
Second.
Okay, motion by Matt, seconded by Steve to close public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, public hearing is closed. Who hasn't made a motion tonight?
Adam.
He's not here no more.
I'm still waiting for Adam. I took my glasses off
Oh, okay.
already.
Madam Chair, I'll make the motion to recommend approval of annexation and zoning to RS 22, zoning district to connect city utilities for an existing single-family home at 1414 Southside Boulevard for Vanessa and Evan Tona, with all conditions of staff.
Second.
Okay, motion by Ron, seconded by Brett. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?